I'm back with chapter 40. Chapter 40. Holly pressed down on her car horn heavily and cursed the driver in front of her. She was fuming. She was mad at herself for being caught in such a situation last night. She was mad at herself for feeling that she had been caught in a bad situation when really nothing was to it. But she was even angrier at herself for feeling like there was more to it because she had really enjoyed Daniel's company all evening. And she shouldn't be enjoying herself because it didn't feel right. But it had felt so right at the time. She held her hand up to her head and massaged her temples. She had a headache, and she was overanalyzing things again. And the stupid traffic all the way home was driving her insane. Poor Daniel, she thought sadly. Jerry's parents had been so rude to him and had ended the conversation abruptly and charged into the restaurant, refusing to make eye contact with Bodhi. Oh, why did they have to see her the one time she was happy? They could have come round to the house any day of the week to see her feeling so miserable and living the perfect grieving widow life. But they hadn't, and now they probably thought she was having a great life without their son. Well, screw them, she thought angrily, pushing down on the horn again. And why did it always take people 5 minutes to move from the traffic lights when they went green? She had to wait every single set of traffic lights she came across when all she wanted to do was go home and throw a tantrum. She picked up her mobile while she waited and called Sharon, knowing she would understand. Hello, hi John, it's Holly. Can I speak to Sharon? Sorry, sorry, Holly. She is asleep. I would wake her for you, but she's been absolutely exhausted. No, don't worry, she interrupted. I'll call her tomorrow. Is it important? He asked, worried. No, she said quietly, it's not important at all. She hung up immediately, dialed Denise's number. Hello, Denise giggled. Here, Cody said. Are you okay? Denise giggled again. Tom, stop, she whispered. And Cody realized she had called at a bad time. Yeah, I'm fine. I just called for a chat, but I can hear you're busy. She forced a laugh. Okay, then I'll call you tomorrow, Cole. Denise replied. Okay, bye. Cody didn't even get to finish her sentence as Denise had hung up. She sat at the traffic lights, lost in thought until loud beeps behind her caused her to jump. She decided to go to her parents' house and talk to Kiara. She would cheer her up. Just as she pulled up outside the house, she remembered Kiara was no longer there and her eyes filled with tears once again. She had no butt. She rang the doorbell anyway, and Declan answered. What's wrong with you? Nothing, she said, feeling sorry for herself. Where's Mum? In the kitchen with Dad, talking to Richard. I'd leave them alone for a bit. Oh, okay, she felt lost. What are you up to? I'm just watching what I filmed today. Is this for the documentary on homelessness? Yeah, do you want to watch it? Yeah, she smiled gratefully and settled herself down on the couch. A few minutes into the video, Polly was in tears, but for once they weren't for herself. Declan had done the most amazing interview with an incredible guy who was living on the streets of Dublin. She realized there were people far worse off than she, and the fact that Jerry's parents had bumped into her and Daniel walking out on the restaurant suddenly seemed such a stupid thing to worry about. Oh, Declan, that was excellent, she said, drying her eyes when it had finished. Thanks, he said quietly, taking the video out of the player and packing it in his bag. Are you not happy with it? He shrugged his shoulders. When do you end up spending when you end up spending the day with people like that, it's kind of hard to be happy about the fact that he has to say that what he has to say is so bad that it makes a great documentary. The worse of he, the better off I am. Polly listened with interest. No, I don't agree with that, Declan. I think that your filming this will make a huge difference to him. People will see it and want to help. Declan just shrugged. Maybe. Anyway, I'm going to bed now. I'm absolutely knackered. He picked up his bag and kissed her on the top of her head as he passed, which really touched Holly. Her baby brother was finally growing up. Holly glanced at the clock on the mantelpiece and noticed it was almost 12. She reached for her bag and took out the October envelope from Jerry. She dreaded the days when there would be no more letters. There were only two left after this. She ran her fingers over the writing once again before tearing the seal open. Polly slid the card out of the envelope, and a dried flower, which had been pressed between cards, fell onto her lap. Her favorite, a fragile little sunflower. Along with it, a small pouch had landed on her lap. She studied it with curiosity and realized it was a packet of sunflower seeds. Her hands shook as she touched the delicate petals of flower, not wanting them to snap between her fingers. Jerry's message read, "A sunflower from my sunflower to brighten the dark October days you hate so much. Plant some more, safe in the knowledge that a warm and bright summer awaits. P.S. I love you." P.P.S. Could you please pass this card on to John? Polly lifted the second card that had fallen onto her lap and read the words through her tears and her laughter. To John. Happy 32nd birthday. You're getting old, my friend, but I hope you may have many, many more birthdays. Take care, enjoy life, take care of your wife and Sharon. Take care of my wife and Sharon. You're the man now. Lots of love, your friend Jerry. Told you I'd keep my promise. Polly read and reread every single word Jerry had written. She sat on the couch for what seemed like hours and thought about how happy John would be to hear from his friend. She thought about how much her life had changed over the past few months. Her working life had definitely improved, and she was proud of herself for sticking at it. She loved the feeling of satisfaction she got each day when she switched off her computer and left the office. Jerry had pushed her to be brave. He had encouraged her to want a job that's meant more to her in her life than just a paycheck. She wouldn't have needed to search for those extra things if Jerry were still with her. Life without him was emptier, but left more room for herself. She'd exchange it all to get Jerry back, though. That wasn't an option. She needed to start thinking about herself and her own future, because there was no one else to share the responsibilities with her anymore. She wiped her eyes and stood up from the couch. She felt a new bounce in her step. She tapped lightly on the kitchen door. "Come in," Elizabeth called. Polly stepped and looked around her parents and Richard sitting at the table holding cups of tea. "Oh, hello, love," her mom said happily, getting up to give her a hug and a kiss. "I didn't hear you come in." "I've been here about an hour. I was just watching Declan's documentary." Polly beamed at her family and felt like giving them all a hug. "It's great, isn't it?" Frank said, standing up to greet his elder daughter. Polly nodded and joined them at the table. "Have you found a job yet?" she asked Richard. He shook his head sadly and looked as though he was going to cry. "Well, I did." No, looked He looked at her disgusted that she could say such a thing. "Well, I know you did." "No, Richard," she smiled. "I mean, I got you a job." "You what?" "You heard me," she grinned. "My boss will be calling you on Monday." His face fell. "Oh, Holly, that's very nice of you indeed, but I have no interest in advertising. My interest is in science. And gardening. Yes, I like gardening." He looked confused. "So that's why my boss will be calling you, to ask you to work in his garden. I told him you'll do it for 5,000. I hope that's okay." She smiled as his jaw dropped. He was completely speechless, so Holly kept on talking. "And here are your cards." She said, handing him a large pile of cards that she had printed up. Richard and her parents picked up the cards and read them in silence. Suddenly, Richard started laughing, jumped out of his chair, pulled Holly with him, and danced around the kitchen with her parents, and while her parents looked on and cheered. "Oh, by the way," Richard said, calming down and glancing up the card again, "you spelled gardener wrong." He spoke slowly. "It's not gardener, it's gardener. See the difference?" Cody stopped dancing and sighed with frustration. This man. This man. Okay, well, so good. Yeah, so that was the end of chapter 40. Can't believe we have only 11 chapters left now, and this book might get finished today. Just like excited. So, bye bye.